We're ready to start.
I call to order this regular meeting of the Commission on Aging on April 10th, 2025. Juanita, please call the roll.
Sure. Carol, and she's excused absent. Nicole,
Here.
Linda,
Here.
Marion is excused absent. Cammie,
Here.
Vicky,
Here.
Dana,
Here.
Quee,
Here.
Lauren.
Here.
And do we have any members of the public or commission liaisons? No? Okay. Any written correspondence received?
Only from the Diversity Commission that will be addressed under the activities calendar.
Okay. Seeing no members of the public present, I'll ask Juanita. Oh, I did that, never mind. Good. So does anyone have any changes to the March 13th minutes? Let's see. Okay, then I am inviting a motion to approve the minutes. Anybody want?
I move that we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any abstentions?
And no opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved as written. Can you share some comments regarding the presentation and feedback from the council?
Yes, I believe that the presentation is well received. There were a few comments. I think there was one comment on housing, what I deferred for a future presentation to the council. It was specifically on home match.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
really? So they're very interested.
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they were pleased at the number of activities and the amount of participation from commission and all things that we've done, really in support of our aging population. I think is was commendable to the council. So, overall, I think it went well.
Good. Thank you for.
Thank you.
representing.
I don't know what we're doing next year. Thank you so much for doing that. They did also commend me for 8 years on this council.
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you. And anyone else who either watched the video or I was there, but I don't have anything more to add. Anybody else? Okay. So we're down to the reviewing the calendar of activities for 2025. Okay. So Juanita, bring it up on the screen, but you have it in front of you as well.
Yeah, I've also distributed copies of the current version.
So, right now, we're up to April, of course, and all we have this month is just this meeting. But looks so far, what?
Hold on, I was sharing. There we go.
So for April, all we have is this commission meeting, but May 2nd is coming up really fast. And that's the Age Well event. So Carol and Vicky, you want to talk about it?
You know, actually, all I know is that we are having our booth, and there hasn't been any other discussion since the last meeting about what we are doing at the booth. So is that something I need to work out with?
It is,
Can we
it's
talk
just
about it?
disseminating information at the table, and it's, you and Carol signed up, and also, one of the senior van drivers, Joe DeCredito, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. DeCredito, perhaps. Anyway, he's gonna join you, so it'll be the three of you at the table.
So
And then it'll just be disseminating, information about what the commission is working on and, the senior van program, and having just a couple of things to give away, like the shopping bag and perhaps a couple other little swag items.
So we do have some swag
We have the shopping bags for sure, and we'll probably have a couple of other things by then.
Great, okay. Will there be a lot of booths at that?
Yeah, it's gonna be really well attended. There's gonna probably be about 200 to 300 people.
Oh, wow,
That'll be
okay.
going through, yeah,
Oh, that's good.
Daytime event, correct?
yes, yes.
I can't help with that.
Are there any upcoming events that we want to have information available to provide at that? Or we can talk about it as we go, think about it maybe as we go through the rest of the,
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have the handout for the Alzheimer's workshop in June. I think, do you have
Yeah,
that?
we just did the flyer this afternoon, and so it'll be live on the website tomorrow. People will be able to start registering tomorrow, and yeah, that's the goal anyway. But yes, so that will be part of it, and whatever else we
van.
have, yeah, the senior van information and anything else that is determined between now and then, which is not gonna be much because today's the last Commission on Aging meeting. So it might be just some other general city information to share, perhaps about the summer concert series or Juneteenth or other events that are going on. Yeah.
Okay. And then the proclamation at the city council, Older Americans Month, that's the key.
and I wrote, Juanita and I emailed back and forth a little bit. I did write it. I'm not sure if she got through the, copy I sent. I can pull it up if you all want me to. read
Oh,
it.
no, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll do a quick.
I did add a few things that were from that, so I think we told us all that the topic for this month is, for this year is flipping the switch on aging, the script on aging. Basically, it was, changing how people talk about the process of aging. And so I did change just a couple of things in the proclamation, but for the most part, it just is, changing the title and so forth, so. But it'll be ready to go.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you, yeah.
And also on the 5th, recognition of Kenny and Quee, right? At the council meeting?
Right. Yes.
So those of us that can come, we should be there.
And we're recognizing you guys because you're stepping down. Why are we recognizing you?
That's why.
I've
That's
decided
fine.
not to reapply at this time.
How many
This
years have you
year,
been on the
I want just the 4,
council? Well, just for.
but this
Four of those.
coming year, I have a lot of commitments that would take me away from the meetings. So I decided I'm taking this year off and potentially will reapply at another date.
Oh, good. Okay.
I'm not
Please do.
closing, I'm
Good.
not closing the door to being on the commission. And the other thing I'd like to add is anytime you need a volunteer at any of this stuff, give me a call if I'm in town. I'm happy to help.
Okay.
Whether it's, emceeing a daytime thing or working a booth or whatever. I would like to stay
Good.
involved. I just can't be an official appointee this year with our schedule and family commitments, so.
And you?
And Quee.
I just wanted to give others opportunities to participate in some groups. So.
What do you?
Started doing our annual presentation.
Are you considering another commission?
Well, I'm pretty busy right now. So I'm committed to that for the next year or two.
Good.
I was waiting for you to run for office. Any intention? The first time I ever saw Quee was, I think it was the very first city council meeting I went to when you were talking about representation of minorities in the city of Pleasant Hill or something like that, and it was pretty eloquent, whatever it was, and I thought, okay, this guy's destined for probably the office.
My plate is a little full. right now.
Okay.
Yeah. It sounds like we'll be busy at that May 5th meeting and
Yeah. And then, our commission meeting is May 8th, and we will be introducing more new commissioners.
If
we
there are
have
any
more.
appointed between now and then, yes.
And also a check to elect officers. And, please, if anybody is interested in being chair, I would be just thrilled to hand it off for the next year, so.
I remember. it
Just
being
want you to
very-
know.
Yeah, I guess this isn't the right time to talk. I remember somebody saying she was in.
Oh. Good.
Dina mentioned that she was interested.
Oh.
I'm sorry, this
Talk
is
about it in another-
getting off topic.
Okay, I'm sorry, yes, we shouldn't do that. I just, thought I'd throw that out there because, yeah.
I don't, how
I'm
does,
sorry.
I don't know how the process works, though. If at one point we can talk about how we do that process for.
Well, it's,
People.
we just do
Yeah.
it, that's.
You'll see on May
Yes.
Yeah,
And there's a potential of it being delayed a month, perhaps, with new people coming and going. And Lorna, didn't you mention you wanted?
I won't be here for the
as
May
well,
18th.
so, yeah, it might, we may or may not have a quorum, we'll see as we get close, hopefully. We will.
okay.
Oh,
Is this your last meeting? Excuse
Yes.
me. Oh,
and I'm out of town
Okay.
May 8th, which is one of the reasons
Yeah.
why I'm stepping down this
Yeah.
time, because of several family things that hit the same.
yeah,
So,
well, okay, because it's really gonna depend on whether they replace. the
Yeah, that's
equipment.
something we can address.
Yeah,
on May 5th,
okay.
Or as we get to it, we'll send emails to the commissioners and let them know the status and
Okay.
what's happening
Great.
in the
Okay.
process and all of
Thank
that.
you. And then, May 17th and 18th is the Art Wine and Music Festival. Are they, looking for volunteers for that? right
Yes,
now?
they are, and they're gonna do it differently this year, kind of going back to the way they were doing it prior to last year. Last year, they did blocks of times for each commission and then tried to fill that in. And, some people felt that was too restrictive because they just couldn't be there at that particular time. So I'll be sending out an email to everyone, to offer options of signing up for approximately 2-hour blocks anytime that weekend. So you may or may not work with another commissioner, on aging commissioner, might be a different commissioner, but some people said they enjoy that interaction.
Yeah,
So,
nice.
so that's coming.
Okay, thank you. And then the July, August Outlook article, what, did we talk about possibly being social connections, or is that just an idea you had? I don't remember a conversation about that.
That was, as, given as a possible workshop to be done, and so we have it, I don't have it. Yeah, September, October possibly is, oh no, that's the palliative care.
It's the
So
August.
July, August one.
August, yeah, I just don't have it on the calendar. So, yeah, July.
You showed them
Oh, I've
August
got it on
23rd.
August, yeah, I'm showing it there's August, so, a determination has not yet been made, it was an idea, so.
Yeah.
That will need to be solidified.
It's a good, it's a good topic.
Does anybody?
Yeah, I did want to share that I noticed that the senior center has a program similar called Aging Solo with Dignity. This is brought to you by the Sensational Seniors Workshop. Solo agers are often faced with challenges that are unique and unnerving at times. This workshop will provide seniors and or their loved ones with technology resources, emotional support, and community references for those who live alone. From practical tips on home safety modifications to discussions on mental health, loneliness, and building social connections. The event seeks to offer a comprehensive approach to aging independently. So
Sounds
that's
like a
being
good
offered, April
So-
24th, and so I don't know if you would want to do something that's different than that, or
I missed who's doing that.
it's at the senior center from the Sensational Seniors Workshops.
Yeah, they're doing it's, actually, we had a big meeting today. It's a networking group that, they pull from a lot of, people within the, what's the word, our network, the old network.
the aging community,
Right.
providers.
So, and that's why there's so many programs at the Pleasant Hill Senior Center.
Right.
Because they've just kind of come in and just really, done so it'll be a good workshop, I'm sure. I wasn't paying attention to see who was giving that workshop. But
And we don't want to compete with them.
that's in April,
Yeah,
so we're looking at August, so
Oh.
it's still, I think it's far enough along if we
And it
want.
sounds like a good topic that
Yeah,
there's no reason not to
It's important,
If,
Yeah.
if we can.
Especially we have
If we
more
can find
people
it.
aging in place
Yeah.
now. so.
yeah. Sorry.
Then I was just gonna say, if we could find something that's a little bit different than that, but I don't actually have any great ideas. Something that would be a slightly different topic. I think when we talked about it originally, a number of you mentioned different ways that you knew, do you remember us talking about it initially? We were talking about a little bit of, the different resources there are for social opportunities. Does anybody remember? Anyway.
Yeah.
Do we need help on that one? Is that,
Well, we need to, right now, I
Oh,
think,
yeah.
if that is what we're going to do in August.
Yeah.
Did you write the article for the outlook, this what
So,
happens?
so if that is what we're gonna do in August, we'll need to make a decision about who's gonna write the article. Because that's gotta be in July,
The end of May.
end of May,
end of May it'd have to be?
yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it makes us have to think ahead.
So if for, some reason it just can't be identified by the end of May, we would just miss the opportunity to promote it in the Outlook newsletter. which
Yeah,
is our biggest promotional tool, but it could still be held and promoted other ways.
What was it, social connections?
yeah,
There's a person that we could, I'm just thinking out loud here, social connections and driving, and when is it time to put your driver's license away? And that conversation, I mean, I think that's a tough, I guess it's not a positive, it's not a happy feeling.
yeah.
Yeah, so why would anyone want to?
Lorna, so
Now we'd be better off doing the car safe or, that I'm told we used to do.
What's
how about if we did alternate forms of transportation? Like, besides the senior van, there are other groups that volunteer to take people on, to get places and so forth. Would that be? I mean,
That could be a piece of it.
That could be a piece of a workshop somewhere, but I don't think there's enough
No.
to do a whole workshop on that.
But we could do the safe driving and other alternative transportation. Just a thought.
What about the workshop? So you're looking for a topic, is that,
Well- If what we said here is, where did it go?
Social connections.
It's a social connection there, but then down far,
I'm trying to get what the
further.
article is doing.
And-
It's the,
Yeah.
in August, it says social connections as we age. That's the title and to be determined, obviously.
oh,
Panel or workshop, if that's what we want to do in August, then the article would be about the same thing.
And,
oh, got it.
and I wish I was, like ready to. I just don't have any, I just don't know enough. I would love to see there be something about, like the senior center is a great resource for socialization, but
Right.
what are the other
What are the
resources?
others? Yeah.
And I don't know, because I just don't know.
What about meetup groups? Is that not a good thing?
Well, no, I think, everybody approaches it in their own way, and some seniors still have lots of social connections, and, even if they're living in a community, they will go out to lunch or out to breakfast with their buddies, usually it's
Yeah.
men that do this a lot. But that doesn't address the ones that don't have that network already, some,
And they're
I
harder to
don't
find
know
too,
how we-
because they don't have that network.
The network,
They're harder to
Alternative.
find.
yeah.
It's harder to reach them.
right.
Exactly, we don't know who they are.
And I thought at one time,
Same ones
having
that
like.
don't come to workshop.
Having different groups present, other, groups that people could join, for instance,
Right.
like, for instance, I'm a member of the Pleasant Hill Garden Study Club, and that is a group, and there are
Yeah,
lots of groups like
great.
that within
Right.
Pleasant Hill. So one way to do it would be to have somebody from do another panel like you did, and then again, I would have,
Learn
I don't
within
know who
your,
those groups are.
learn within your community.
Yeah.
What about volunteer opportunities wrapped into one of these?
Yeah, well, that could be
I think that would be. an-
Connections.
Actually.
You know, we ran into somebody, Harold used to know volunteering at Kaiser, and he talked, well, how did you get involved
Really?
with
You know,
this?
and
There's a
actually,
lot of volunteers.
I-
that fit
I
in
think
the
that's-
Reception area.
I think that in itself is a great topic, is volunteer opportunities, how,
Because it's a way
Because
to meet people.
it is a way to
and
meet people, but it's also a way, people to still be of service, which is, part of,
Big, yeah.
part of what is, is the valuable part of aging well is still feeling like you're providing
You
service
need it.
to the world.
Active and whatnot.
But I like the idea of having different groups come
I
and
do
have,
too.
like the garden scene or garden group.
Right.
I do too.
Well,
And I,
and there's a whole list of them that are associated with the Park and Rec Department. The Garden Club is one of them, that is,
so what if the social connections as we age was a panel of those folks and also one person talking about volunteer opportunities?
Mhm.
Because it ties in, but I don't think volunteer opportunities as a standalone is enough. And you won't get anybody that's not thinking they want to volunteer
well,
is not gonna come.
maybe rather than even social connections, it's just community connections, it's,
Yes,
and
yes.
so
Like-
connecting with your community, and that can be through volunteering or through social
Senior
things or
center,
joining clubs or
Yeah.
going to the library things or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, so.
I like
Sounds
that.
like a good idea.
I like But
So community connections, so we do it on community.
Yeah, community
connections.
connections instead of social.
I'm happy to help, with that one if, or shadow somebody, since this would be a first opportunity.
yeah,
But I'm happy to give my time on that.
do you know any groups other than the?
Well, what's interesting is, I have ties to the music, community. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of, seniors that are in meetup groups, like really fun meetup groups. And I see a lot of older people get together and they have so much fun. I mean, I see it on social media. So, I was thinking, that's why I said maybe a meetup group, and that could be one, maybe on top of the
Well,
volunteering and
Or
other
if there's
things. going.
anybody from any of those, is that something that people could be invited to join into?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so anything that people could join would
Oh, they do
be,
music, they go everywhere together, and it's a lot. It's so sweet. I mean, it's men and women, and they're a great group of people. So.
But you use the word join and a lot of people aren't joiners. We obviously are. So we have to kind of keep
Yeah,
that in
well,
mind.
could be included in, I guess, rather than
Yeah,
feeling like you have
feel
to
a part of
join
it, yeah.
something per se.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you can verbalize it in a different way, but I agree with
Fun
you.
opportunities in the community.
So what would we want to call it then is this something that everybody thinks we should try to do for July when do we have it?
August right now.
We have it for August right now.
I think it would be fine. I think
think
that
we have
it
plenty of
will
time
providing
between now and then.
information, that is not readily available. I have no
I do.
idea what these are.
I don't either.
So I'd love to learn about it.
So
I could use it.
how could
Well, when
we
you're
get
as
this
busy as you
together
are, yeah.
enough to be able to write an article for May? That's the real question.
We're back to that, yeah.
And-
Even be a September people go back to school and they're looking.
Yeah, that's true.
But we still have one more meeting in May.
Fall things. It would be a topic that would work in the fall.
You want me to do?
Yeah.
And could we?
Yes.
Yes,
Can we-
Absolutely.
Do some homework and bring that in.
And you know, what, to move that to September, because people are on vacations during
Yeah.
summer. And you come back to September, things are settling down.
Do we have something else in September?
No,
Be a community service.
Community Service
Oh,
Day,
yeah.
which,
yeah. Yeah, so I think that if we move that, leave August alone
yeah.
and,
Leave it
and,
at the commission meeting only.
yeah,
for
and then
vacation.
move our,
And then
community connection, whatever we're gonna call it, in September. And then we have another meeting, and you guys, you can do your homework.
Okay. Do we still need, Juanita to have that article ready by?
No, if we're gonna do it in September, we won't need it until, what, July?
So we can start identifying who's gonna be a part of the panel. I like that.
Why
I
not?
like it a lot.
So
It's
maybe
very
we can all,
positive.
you know,
Good
I'm willing to do that as well, so maybe we can all just kind of come with, potential.
Yeah.
Groups, things we would want to include in it.
So then you said the Park and Recs has a list of, okay, so.
If you look in the Park and Rec, schedule and classes, there's actually a list of other, groups that are. I don't even know exactly how they're associated, but I know that, like, we have an association with the Park and Rec Department. And so we get the room at the community center for a little bit less than other groups
Okay.
do. And we are listed in the book,
Co-sponsor.
so,
What you could
That
do,
sounds fun.
since
We'll get lots of stuff
May
here.
is, you're doing the proclamation, which
Uh-huh.
is the flip the script on aging. If you wanted to tie it all together, you could wrap that into, what are the things that you flip when we talk about aging, right? There's certain perceptions that we think about aging. So one of those perceptions could be isolation or social isolation as one ages. But does it have to be spoken in that way, right? So one of the things
Yeah.
you could try to tie in, say, that's gonna be the theme for the year. How do we flip that script? And so we have something like, maintaining, community or maintaining connection as we, so you can sort of flip that script and just have it tie it all in.
Yeah,
And so if you write an article, sort of piggybacking off the proclamation, saying one of the big areas, misperceptions, is that we don't need, or we don't have to necessarily be alone. That's the perception.
Mhm.
There are things that we can do. And so then you can just wrap in other things.
In
like-
our community.
Right, so if you say something like, managing connections, you can talk about mobility challenges, you can talk about what groups are available, we can talk about volunteerism.
Yeah.
You don't have to talk about joining stuff, but there are ways in which you can maintain.
Present the
connection.
information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it can be sort of wrapped into a larger
Sure.
sort of way that instead of thinking about social isolation, we're actually doing something about it, changing that perception that even as we age, we can still maintain our connection with the community. That
or flipping the switch on what it means,
Yeah.
just because we're retired doesn't mean we sit at home and do nothing.
Right,
Yeah.
the perception, right?
yeah,
And so that way there'll just be sort of, you can have a running theme for the rest of the year.
Good idea.
it not only flips the script, it gives it a whole positive spin. Instead of saying isolation is really bad for seniors, you don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
It's-
things we
no,
can do,
look,
right?
it's positive,
Like-
yeah.
Yeah,
Here are the opportunities for being included in your community,
yeah,
Let me tell you, since I've been sick, it's been really hard because I couldn't, lots of times I can't leave home.
yeah,
So, but I know that they'll find something wrong with me and I'll be sorted. But I feel really bad for people who don't have that option.
Yeah.
You
oh,
know,
yeah.
it's a tough one.
Maybe there will be some things that come out of this that you can even do at home.
Well, I think, I imagine that because you have the connections that you have in the world, you're a lot less isolated. than
Right,
somebody else
right.
that
Yeah.
Doesn't, and so that's part of,
Yeah.
Right.
you've made your life more positive by all the connections you've
Right.
established.
So I can't imagine how it will be for people who don't have those connections. You know, but they also want to have them. You know what I mean? That, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that's where we're
Some
going
people
with
don't
this, is
want
people
that.
may want that and just don't know where to go.
Yeah,
So definitely how to connect with your community, you know.
And we could, if we wanted to, also present the well-connected piece, which is the other part of what Logan was talking about in the home share program, where it's a program where they have a summer, fall, winter, spring catalog of all different kinds of subjects, as in gardening, spiritual, poetry, travel, whatever.
Who does that?
The
Front porch.
front porch, and you pick what you want, And on that day, you connect with people around the country on phone or internet. I mean, I gave a presentation last month where I had my PowerPoint and I was, and so it's a managing connection for people who can't get out of the house.
Yeah,
And so people even attending our workshop are thinking, wow, that would be something good for my neighbor who has, who's isolated. So
Is that one of the groups we could have do?
that's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what I was trying to remember.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Remember Somebody had talked about.
Yeah, so I just wrote, that would be also be, well, we could consider including that in the panel, but I think we're gonna find out that there's a lot in our community. We
Yeah.
might not even need that.
So why don't we kind of all do our own brainstorming and then
Yep.
bring it back?
great.
Okay.
I did want to just point out in October, we had a lot
Can I just say something really quick? I went to Adnick's meeting in my calendar and it's in a bunch of people, including you, an invitation to a Zoom meeting. That's what happened to me before and I don't know how to fix it. But if you happen to get an invitation, ignore me.
Okay,
Went to the commercial.
we'll
The
ignore
commissioners that are
it.
no longer on the commission.
We won't ignore you.
So,
We'll ignore it.
I might be able to offer a solution. What if, do you use Outlook? Is that what the calendar is that you
I
have?
don't, you
Because I
know,
could
we
send a calendar invitation to everyone to mark the meetings. That might be helpful.
It would be.
Would it?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
There
Cute.
we go.
I'll just have to remember.
Just not as the
I'll
Zoom
send
meeting.
one.
The Outlook one, it comes up automatically as a Zoom and you have to tell it, don't host online.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
If I forget to do
And
that,
then my Outlook calendar is my work calendar and it won't let me invite,
oh,
So
outside
the
of.
homework is due next, on May 8th, right? Bring
Yes.
that- Okay,
Like,
Got
I
it.
can't tell me.
Yeah.
I can't.
So in
I could put it
October,
in.
we had the hospice palliative care workshop, so that if you do both, one in September and one in October, you'll just need to share the,
Feels like we just did the hospice.
Outlook?
palliative
Yeah, do
care
we want to
workshop.
pass on hospice this year?
I think we put it on the calendar because it was so well received and attended.
Was coping with grief really well received?
Yes,
Hoping it-
I thought it was.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. You
much
said
smaller
no.
turnout, very,
Well, it was December, wasn't it?
November.
Yeah,
It was the same one.
for the holidays, yeah.
Well, we did, yes,
That's-
we did the coping with grief one was in November.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Um,
we did it the past 2 Novembers. For, specifically for people,
And so
to
because
cover
they're
for the
coming out of that, the topic that we did with the panel, Lorna. And I can't remember what we called it, but we essentially covered some of those topics. I mean, we covered
hospice.
in a different way. We
in a
covered
different way, hospice got thrown in.
and palliative care got kind of thrown into it. It would seem like if we want to look at our feedback from that and maybe like take one of those subjects a little bit further, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was just wondering if we want to replace, if we don't want to do coping with grief, or we don't want to do hospice, I mean, picking one of those
Oh,
as opposed to doing both,
Um,
one in October and one in November.
so
okay.
I still think, my general feeling with palliative care is it's still confusing. And I think that that palliative care is one of the things that helps people stay at home. So I think there's a whole ways to be taken care of at home thing that's more than just hospice and palliative care, if that makes sense. Am I making any sense? Like,
I'm having a hard time figuring out how we would have a home.
Well, we could do,
we could do a panel again for one thing.
Yeah,
but
yeah, we could have, I could have John Muir do palliative. And Bristol has a tremendous dementia hospice program.
Oh, really?
And then
I-
another hospice or maybe two hospices, one for-profit and one nonprofit. So
Yes.
that'd be four.
Well,
Then you have
I'm thinking
people.
something like including in-home support services.
Yeah,
Do you think, like explaining how the county run in-home support
IHSS?
services? Yeah.
Well, you could, you're very limited on who your audience is because you have to be qualified under Medi-Cal. That's the
May not
program I
even
worked for.
around
for a
come
while,
October.
And then it sometimes takes a year to get on.
I'm aware, yeah. Well,
I mean, it's a good thing to include and say, hey, if you're low income, here's the number, or be able to answer a few questions, but.
You could do, an overview of home care through an agency, private home care,
Yeah,
the pros and
Yes.
cons, and then if you're on Medi-Cal, I mean, you could do one, with IHSS, so that just becomes part of a piece of, because you're right, when you're on hospice, the family gets very burnt out as the caregiver,
Yeah,
family
definitely.
caregiver, and they do eventually have to reach out to outside help.
Right.
Be it a independent contractor or a registered agency
Yeah.
or IHSS if you qualify that. So you could have just a piece in the hospice presentation.
right, it
about
could be a piece of it.
supportive services, yeah.
I think even regular home care, like what we call Medicare home care, like explaining when that works and when hospice works and when, you know what I mean?
Some of it
But I think
depends,
there's
a lot of
you
confusion.
can't have,
it depends on your insurance coverage too.
if you're on
but in
hospice, you
general-
can't have.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying, is not have it just on hospice, but have it on home care in the home in general. So that, I think there's a lot, I just think there's a lot of questions about the options there are
For being
people,
able to
and
stay
people
at home.
understanding what Medicare covers and when it covers it and when it doesn't cover it, and how you find other care if you need it, and that's where I think there's a lot of confusion personally.
Well, yeah.
But we did have a Medicare course in the past. So,
People to call the.
I know that's confusing, because my partner was trying to figure out
Yep.
insurance and, when the
But I don't think
Social
people even
Security
know
was
that.
coming and
That's
when to take Social Security and all that kind of
So
stuff.
we don't.
Sorry, can we just let Nicole finish?
Yeah,
Oh, no, I was just saying, somebody had talked about Medicare, and so I was just saying that was something that was confusing to my partner, is when he was, when to take Social Security, what to do with Medicare. It just was really confusing for him.
it is.
And the high
So-
cap people cover all that really, really well. I don't know, and that's where we kind of deferred.
who did our Medicare one? Wasn't it,
Maybe high cap is someone to have come to one of
Who
our
was it?
panels.
Bill?
Bill, that's right.
So high cap is, like, the senior center does a lot of presentation, has a lot of workshops with high cap. And I'm not talking which I think is a great topic in itself, by the way, so I agree with
Is it,
you.
just
Yeah,
HI and?
It's just with the hospice, even with hospice, like. Never mind.
There's a lot of.
I've just watched my various family members recently go through the whole process of what do you do with somebody when they can't quite take care of themselves in their house
Right.
anymore?
Right.
And trying to explain to people when Medicare will pay for services and what services they are,
The
and
reality is Medicare doesn't pay for anything.
they pay for very little.
They
Yeah,
don't-
right,
they don't-
yeah.
and
But people think they do.
They absolutely.
And I think that having people understand what they pay for and what they don't pay for, and then what you have to do kind of thing is.
Well, would it be worth it in the future to have another Medicare
I think that.
Yes,
presentation
I think so.
rather than to try to combine it with something else?
Well, Medicare in itself is a huge topic, and that's what I'm saying is, there's also the enrolling in Medicare and all that. I'm just talking about Medicare related to home care services and what's covered. And it does depend on the insurance carrier, like you said.
Well, and some
Well,
people,
but
No, it doesn't. Medicare.
some people have Yeah, but some people have
It's,
stuff.
I mean, if it's.
There's some pilot programs,
Yeah.
but they're simply pilot programs. There's no money for it. As a nation, we do not take care
There
of
when they were
it.
young.
No, and
End
it's
of story.
only.
Do you have this?
Yeah.
You should have that.
Anyway,
That thing is great.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, because what we're really trying to figure out here is trying to figure out if we want to do the hospice and palliative.
Right,
care.
and maybe we don't. Maybe we wanna do,
I would
think-
just like to see it broadened to home care.
We've done it every year, right? There's been at least one
The time
on
is,
hospice.
The
yeah.
last 2 years we've done hospice.
Yeah,
I had
maybe we don't need to do that. one this time.
Okay, but I wouldn't take it off. And you know, I have to say, I was a hospice bereavement counselor years ago.
Yeah.
I've had to deal with hospice for my mother and my late husband, and I learned so much from that. I was surprised.
Really?
from.
Yeah.
What?
It was the one,
Oh, that we did last, yeah.
yeah, first of all, bless their heart, they no longer have volunteer bereavement counselors,
Yeah.
which is a good thing. They have professionals. But I just was surprised how much I learned.
Well, I think that if we keep it on, I think to Vicky's point, we should add a piece on supportive services.
Yes,
You know, for the
Yes.
family, for caregiver burnout, for,
yeah,
you know, that would be an add-on.
So sort of a broader presentation.
Yeah. Define palliative, yeah,
yeah.
because I don't think
Oh, go ahead.
no, I forgot what it was.
I mean, hospice is.
So do you want to leave it on the calendar for now?
Yes,
For
please.
further discussion?
I think so.
Hospice, palliative care workshop and supportive services, perhaps as a reminder to consider expanding on the topic and leave it for now.
Right,
The articles, you know, because if you're gonna do one, the September one, book the script, community connections as we age, something along those lines.
uh-huh.
And then you can decide as we get a little bit closer to July.
Summarize a very long conversation. Thank you, Juanita.
Okay, but that will mean that will free up an article opportunity
Yeah,
for May, and I was checking in with, our, public information officer about the concept of adding something just even to the Commission on Aging articles that would help people to feel welcome to come that were maybe solos. And he suggested maybe just doing a whole separate article about, you know, maybe finding the positive spin, in it is to flip the script instead of, and maybe even pulling from the proclamation or other information and writing an article about, you know, how things can be, how you can perceive yourself differently or be willing to take a chance and go out and try some new things.
yeah,
And so I checked with him to see if we could then maybe do an extra article if we were promoting an event. And he said it could probably be worked out. But now it looks like we're not gonna have anything for the,
so we wouldn't have to,
so yeah, if somebody wanted to write an article, perhaps like that or something else.
Yeah, so
It's an
that,
opportunity.
going off with what, you were just saying about, you know, flipping the switch and about piggybacking on the proclamation. You're talking about the article
That
for,
would be due at the
July,
end of May.
August,
Yeah, it would be
okay.
July, August, and then, you know, maybe that would then tie into the next month when people see that, oh, now there's a workshop.
Would this still be a 250 word? I'm-
Approximately, if you had something longer, and I can find out.
you can do it, Vicky, you
We
can
can-
do
you can
it,
do
you
it.
can do
Well, I'm
it.
just thinking that it could be just an extension of the proclamation.
Exactly.
Yes.
And talking about the statistics of older Americans and da. Or not.
Whatever. I might need input. I will actually be on vacation for 2 weeks in May, so I'm just trying to make sure I'm not getting myself.
You can do it, Vicky, you can do it. You've already done the proclamation
Yes.
and you've done research on it.
I read a little bit. No, I can do it.
I know you can.
So I mean, actually, it can be a kind of even an introduction into, you know, yes, okay. So what are we calling it?
I just put.
Flip the script, community connections, okay.
Yeah, just as a placeholder name.
All right.
You can define.
Commissioner Beavis.
Thank you, Vicky.
Thank
And
you.
if you need a few more days beyond May 30th, I'm sure we can. work that
Okay,
out.
thank you. I'll be back on the 24th. Should be okay. It's a shorter vacation this
Awesome.
time.
Okay,
Okay,
and then June, the home match, is that the new date?
yeah, this is for the presentation at city council.
Yeah, okay.
It has been confirmed.
Oh, good.
Okay.
It sounds like they're very anxious for it.
No, that's great. And then the workshop on June 9th, all set to go, Lorna, on that one?
Yeah, should I?
If you're able to,
okay.
that's.
What was that?
I was just wondering if I should attend the June 2nd city council meeting and introduce Logan to the council, since it was,
I think that'd be nice.
yeah, that would be the follow through. They asked, we provided,
Yes.
we responded based on, okay, so I'll do that.
Okay.
Okay, and I wrote down. Okay, now what were we saying?
Oh, June 9th, dementia Alzheimer's.
Yes, do you have the, do
That's one.
you have a flyer?
I do, yeah.
So I'm excited, very
That's that
excited.
one.
I don't know what Juanita wrote here. Did you do? So I have been able to, one of my persons is an early onset diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2016. And she will not, at this point, will not speak, but she has given me permission to read her presentation that she gave around the country at a lot of events throughout with Maria Shriver and the Alzheimer's Association over the years.
Being diagnosed?
Yeah, yeah. So, but she's at this point in her stage, and she's great, but I don't think that she has the, I know she doesn't. She doesn't want to, but she gave me permission to read it, and she'll be there and will answer questions.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and it's pretty powerful. I read it. I've been talking to her for a couple of months about it, and then I picked up her cell phone and was trying to find something for her, and I found this thing, and I started reading it. I'm going, Pam, and kept reading, and it's eloquent. So I will read that, and she will be there.
Oh, I love it.
That's good. Yeah.
That's very,
Thank you.
that's very.
Yeah.
So we will be
And-
covering the difference between Alzheimer's and other
Dementia,
forms of-
Yeah, I will, yeah, Grace, who used to be the site manager for Alzheimer's Association, but now is a counselor at Rossmore and runs the Alzheimer's programs there, will be the reason, will be the main presenter. And then I'll do, I forget what I'm gonna do, and then we'll have
The
Pam.
resources.
The resources, I'm gonna do resources. And if there's time, I'll do, a couple slides on communication techniques, in terms of eye to eye, what you can do to help communicate with your loved one. And then we'll have Pam.
Nice.
Did you hear about the two studies? The shingle shots reduces Alzheimer's up to 20%.
I
Really?
saw that.
I
saw that.
something
Isn't
about
that-
but I
Yeah,
didn't
there
see
was
this
two.
study.
One is from
Wondered if they could-
Oxford and the other one I forget where it's
Hopefully
from.
let me go have another shingle shot.
Yeah, fascinating.
Who knows why that works?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you need someone to help with the event?
Yeah, I can't, we're gonna need to have people introduce, and we're gonna need to have people, I think if we read what the takeout was from our last debrief, 2 microphones on each side, questions, so
Yeah.
we need to review that probably.
Running the last time I did it.
Yeah, our next
Yeah.
meeting, okay, so
And-
let's.
And we
You
do,
were good.
we talked also about.
Marna, if you'd like me to be there, I can be there that day.
Yeah.
I'm in town. I said I'd like to continue to be involved. I just.
Well, it's gonna be a good presentation.
Yeah.
Probably too far out too, but
I want to hear what she has to say.
And she was just kicked off she was on the FDA, approved in, September. What is the drug that you get infusions for every 2 weeks.
Oh, the trial?
It's not the trial, Limpec.
That's one of the new drugs that's supposed to work if you catch
Yeah.
it early enough.
Yeah,
She was
and,
kicked off of that.
well, she had brain bleeds and we kept on having
Right.
MRIs.
That's what you
and-
said.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and
Wasn't
so
good for her.
Is that one of the side effects?
Very few get it, the side effect.
Yeah.
Leqembi, there you go. Yeah, so.
Wow.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
And Juanita,
Juanita, can you include me on any email correspondence for that event?
Yeah,
Okay,
you know.
and Dana, what's,
yeah, we'll address that at our next meeting.
okay, Dana, did you have something else you were starting to say?
No, I was just,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and come and help,
Okay, okay.
but you can be the microphone lady. You have experience, you have experience.
Juanita,
Yes.
one of the things that came up was about people being able to write questions. Do we want to be able to do that?
Yeah, we'll have cards, right,
Thank you.
Okay, where did we leave off here?
yeah.
Okay,
Noted
June
the time, and we
12th.
have several things.
Yeah.
Yeah, the commission meeting, Meals on Wheels at that time, Lana?
We changed it to
It is June 12th, and that is confirmed.
confirmed, yes.
Yeah.
And we have the executive director who'll come and talk about. all
Very
of
good.
it.
Nice.
But wasn't there talk recently about doing away with those
A what?
funding? Well, on the news, every day. I thought I heard,
Yeah, it's a really big issue right
okay, so that's gonna be timely.
now. Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And what about Juneteenth? Did we talk about what we would possibly?
Yeah, just as a reminder, the Diversity Commission did send correspondence just to invite the commission, and we did talk a little bit about it last time, but there was a little concern because it seemed that their event wasn't confirmed because it was originally gonna be with Off the Grid, and then Off the Grid wasn't gonna happen that night. That's all been resolved. It is gonna happen. Off the Grid is gonna be there. So the event is going on. So the options were for the commission to provide a family-friendly activity at a booth, or make a recommendation for a performer from a Black-owned business or a group, or just attend the event. So if you want to participate in some way by setting up something in a booth, that's the conversation. And it's not required, it's just an opportunity.
Yeah.
So,
Does anyone have any interest in doing that?
Can help with you need a performer?
No, what she
Oh,
was talking
that's
about
one
was
of the
a
possibilities.
booth,
Or a
to
family.
provide family-friendly activities, which is
Family-friendly activity.
kind of what we usually do at our booth.
or both.
Just,
I'm happy to help with whomever, or I can do it on my own.
I had suggested that maybe we find children's books related to the Black community, that maybe we do a story
oh,
Yeah,
corner.
that's right.
oh, cute.
What do you
Oh, that's-
think?
That's great.
We could ask the librarians at the library to pull books for us, that we could, I don't know. Do you
Is it
think
gonna
that
be
would work?
too loud or no?
Well, that was what I wondered, if there is music going off the grid, and I don't know where we would be set up and whether
So
that's.
they're definitely gonna have performers. I don't know what the noise level is. This is an indication of what
Right.
opera is with that one. There's some music, but they are gonna have performers for sure. I don't know if it'll be, how quiet it will
Is-
be. That's,
I was gonna say, would it be possible, it'd be hard to find, to have
could
something
take it
inside a
ours.
room like this, if you wanted to do books? It's inside.
Usually do coloring.
Like an arts and crafts type of thing, you know?
That's typically what we've been doing at our booth,
Okay.
both at Light Up the Night and, gosh, we've.
Okay.
It probably would work better than trying to do reading stories in this
Reading.
Is
particular
this the area that it
Um,
would be at?
It's just the reading stories is a new angle.
Well, I was just thinking, if you could get it inside a room like this,
Maybe
there's
a
stuff going on around us.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if we were even just over here somewhere, that it would, if we just had little chairs set up and we could just have a schedule of stories to be read.
Is the target audience gonna be the smaller kiddos?
Well, that's a very good question, because it would limit it to that probably.
Oh, it
Juanita,
would
did you
be,
say
yeah.
our other option was to find, what is it? They invited us to either find a performer or
Or
do
you
a
could do
family.
both. I mean, if you know of a performer, I'm sure they'd love to hear about it. And you could still do an activity if you'd like to, at a booth. Isn't either or.
When do you need to know?
As soon as possible.
Okay.
I'm trying to
That is
fill up
true.
your schedule.
So it would be only probably appropriate for grade school or younger age children, depending on the stories we were reading, I suppose.
Yeah,
Families, right, pretty much? Just
Yeah.
gonna be, okay.
But that's pretty much who we have at our booths anyway,
yeah,
when we've done coloring.
Little ones, yeah,
yes, yeah.
okay.
Keep us.
Okay.
It's usually good.
So, I'm gonna say we could revisit this next meeting,
I can think.
if we have time.
In
That's,
case we don't
is
have
that
any-
all right? Because
You
this is still
can.
June,
Yeah.
but how soon do we need to come up with a decision to tell whoever's organizing the team?
I can let them know that you're contemplating options.
Do you
Just
think
find
you know
out.
somebody, a music person? Okay, well, it sounds like we have a music person.
We have that.
I can give a few options.
Okay.
You know,
That'd be awesome.
That would be,
So you could do that
Who do I-
before our
who do I
next
send them
meeting.
to? Okay, Juanita.
Yeah.
tell you what, I will be at, I will ask the librarians if that's something they could do for us. And and if they had a recommendation, how much time are we supposed to be having? I suppose we could have a schedule of, and not necessarily be reading continuously, right?
Right.
So, and a list of the stories. Do you think that then we would just need to have volunteer readers? But I think the idea would actually be to have older people reading, but what at least kids perceive to be older people.
Right,
I noticed that when we were having kids write messages to people at Christmas, and we were calling them senior citizens or something, and the parents would say grandma and grandpas. Because
Yeah.
they didn't understand what we meant by older people per se, or people that lived, whatever, so.
I can share a few more details about the timing, if that's helpful. It
Yeah.
says the events from 5 to 9 with the family hours between 5 to 7. And then the concert will start at 7. So
Oh.
there's a little bit of quieter time.
So if you
Yeah.
wanted to do books, that 5 to 7 family time would be good. And then it's
Yeah.
not the whole event fighting with the music sounds.
right,
And that's generally when the younger families show up.
yeah, they'll
Earlier.
probably be gone by 7.
And Juanita, we could probably, even in the courtyard here somewhere, we had,
And that would be something that the diversity commission will need to determine the layout and where things could happen.
Yeah,
okay,
okay, so,
But we did just mention that it's quiet in the booth area. I think that
Yeah,
was last
even
year.
during the 7 to 9, with music going on, we can interact with the booths pretty easily, you can hear people. So
okay.
We'll listen to that.
I'll go home and,
so
get some
it's
names.
almost,
Okay.
Yeah,
guys, it's almost 6.
Yep,
and
I'm in touch with the diversity commission.
okay,
liaison.
great, thank you. Mhm.
I think we need to move on from this and pick up the calendar next time.
Okay.
Because we've still got, discussion, the Village Concept Subcommittee update from, Vicky, I think. Yeah,
Which unfortunately, there isn't much to update.
okay,
But,
probably.
what I would say is that as a group, we haven't even discussed the presentation Eric did, and I would
Yeah.
very much like to get just everybody's input, and I don't know if this is the right time to do that. Marion and I met just once. Dana hasn't been available, and that's our whole committee. And we came to a couple of conclusions. One was mostly that we don't know,
Yeah.
somehow we need to figure out how we go forward in terms of determining whether Pleasant Hill needs a village, wants a village, if there's any impetus for doing it. And so that's one part. Another is that we were really happy to see the new community resource brochure. But what we found out is that just here at the city hall, that the that people come in and just ask the person that's sitting there questions,
Mhm.
and that there's that county number for people to call. But how do we make sure people know where to call? You know, how do people know, how do we make sure people have a place to be told to go, or a place to call if they start having these kinds of questions about, and I think I'm pretty sure that's a piece that's missing, is people knowing how to connect with resources. Because I think we have a ton of resources in this community, and not sure people know how to find them. And Marion and I just ended up having an informal conversation, and I actually forgot her name already, but the gal that was at the front desk at
The reception.
the receptionist, she's not really the receptionist. She works for the planning department, she said, but she sits at the counter a lot. And we ended up giving her just that pamphlet that, you know,
When I just had it.
and she was so thankful just to have that, because it was something to be able to help
It's-
people.
It's something that's been frustrating me for years. There are resources out there, but people don't know how to find them. And that's why I keep pulling that brochure out and trying to get, comes now to all of our events. That helps. And there's a radio ad about that brochure now.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've heard it several times now. So we're not the only ones trying to get the resources out there, which is good. But still, it feels
They
like an
also-
uphill battle sometimes.
Sorry, they
Yeah.
also call the senior center. And I've been on dispatch for the van and I'll get weird calls because they're just trying to reach out
Anyone, yeah.
to
Yeah.
everyone.
And the question would be, so one of the things that the La Miranda Village has is what they just refer to as their concierge desk.
yeah.
And it is the place that people can call and say, I need help with this. How do I find help with this kind of thing? And it really kind of comes down to somebody that has the resource book, has whatever other resources, like a book of them, so you could look it all up, or a computer to Google things, because you know how to do that. And then it becomes, well, who is that person? Is that a volunteer desk that's manned in the senior center? Is that something that's at City Hall? I mean, and
I'm sorry, doesn't that resources already exist at the senior center? I mean, that's who we're meant to refer people to.
Yeah.
It is a building and service dedicated to senior services.
I don't know.
And the
Dana.
county has, the area agency on aging has information and referral, 1-800 number.
Mhm.
And maybe that could be part of a presentation as to, this is what the senior center offers, these kinds of resources, and maybe some of these other places, like, health office.
So Dana, if somebody calls the senior center and just has a question about how do I XYZ, like it's not a senior center, it's not something the senior center does necessarily.
How do I find a caregiver?
How do I find a caregiver? How do the example
Whoever's on
that,
the front desk will try to do the best they can to answer it, but it all depends on who you have.
Yeah.
As in any phone call. Yeah.
so I have emailed Holly, because Holly is the director at the senior center, because I did want to talk to her about a senior service day, whether we do it as a commission or I help her do it or whatever. I just wanted to see what her ideas were about doing the senior service day. But I also wanted to kind of get her input about connecting people with
Now,
resources.
who do you want to talk to?
Holly Freitas.
Oh, she's on vacation right now.
Okay.
So
I sent her an email earlier this week.
Okay.
So I'll follow up on that as well, but,
Right.
did you have, so Cammie's a great resource on this, because you've had that thought for so long of how do people connect with, how do you connect people?
It's
What
hard.
do you, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and people, the other thing I combated in the field, I handed out those brochures every day for years and years and years and told people about resources. The other thing you combat is people will ask for idea, resource, help,
Yeah.
and then they don't
They don't.
follow up.
Yeah.
or decide, no, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. And then, another call gets made to whoever of concern for this person.
Yeah,
So it's often the same people that we're having a hard time reaching because they're isolated.
right.
The ones who don't join.
You can
the ones
only
who-
do what you can do.
Right, and it becomes
Yeah.
frustrating at
It's very
times.
frustrating if you,
But getting resources out is, there are family members sometimes you can reach that is helpful, but it's hard to find
Yeah.
the people that need the resources.
So that becomes the question is, how do you, we can see that that's a need.
Yeah,
Is it our role to get involved in trying to pursue something to fill that need?
well, that's the question.
That
And
becomes the question,
It
yes.
also is, how does it relate to the village concept? Because that's what we were talking about is, I keep coming back to, I really loved his presentation and I was fascinated by all of it and would love to see a village either in Hill or Walnut Creek. I don't know if we need
Walnut
to.
Creek. Well,
But
Walnut
Walnut
Creek.
Creek is working.
Yeah, no, and I did that was the other thing I was gonna tell you. I did ask Ellen if we could join theirs and she said no.
What?
Well, no, she didn't say no that way, but
Not that way, okay.
she
But-
said that each community needed its own, basically, in a different way. I could look up her wording for you.
Okay, yeah.
I did ask her.
So, I guess I just keep coming back to, how does this relate to us as a commission? And is this something that, it was great information for us to have, but if there is going to be a village, I'm not sure that we are gonna be the ones to go there. Because we've got so much else on our plate already.
Well, usually it has to be a committee that's
no
separate from.
authority and no funding. and
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
we might be the right people to start looking to see if we need to beat some bushes, but after that, it needs to be
Somebody else would
handed
have to take
over.
it, yeah.
This commission is not
Maybe
in
we-
their,
It may,
it's not in their our wheelhouse.
Exactly.
no, it may be that what we decide as a commission is that there needs to be, if it's gonna go forward, that we somehow figure out how we wanna support a group of people that are gonna look into it, but not necessarily be responsible for it, if that makes sense. There are probably other people in the community, or how do we find out if there are other people in the community that are interested in working on it? Like that.
The interest is.
Can we do a workshop that's just come learn about the village concept and are you interested in being involved kind of thing? I don't know. I was trying to find my email from Ellen, but, because she did say it much nicer than I just did.
Yeah, and I understand where she's coming from because it's,
Can I ask a question, Juanita? I mean, is that something that as a commission underneath the city council that we should even be involved with? Because what if the city council is not interested
yeah,
in a village concept for Pleasantville?
So the charge of the commission in general is to find gaps in service in the community and to try to find ways of helping to fill those gaps, whether that means to provide just connecting people or resource information where needed, or helping to promote information. So it's okay and part of what I think the subcommittee was starting to look at is, well, what are the gaps?
Yeah.
What is actually missing in Pleasant Hill that isn't already being done somewhere? And as Vicki's indicated, there's a lot that is out there, and it's,
Yeah.
the presenter from the village also said Pleasant Hill is very lucky, it's already got a lot going. So it's like, well, maybe it's looking at still what is missing, is just the information is just not getting out to people about what exists, is that the piece? That could maybe be something the commission could take on. If you call the senior center and they can't answer certain questions, is there a way of providing the information to them so that they can answer the question? Is that because that infrastructure is already in place to somebody's answering the phones, trying to help people? So maybe something along those lines, I'm not really sure. And maybe it is using the resources that are available. Maybe it's an article in the Outlook newsletter about, look, there's a lot of resources in Pleasant Hill.
Yeah.
here they are, these are ways to find them. Try-
Can't fit that in two
That's a-
hundred and fifty words.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and you could do another article, you know,
Yeah.
you can talk to our guy.
This month, we're gonna talk about
Senior spotlight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
About
and
seniors.
maybe even, you know, we have a bi-weekly update that goes out, maybe you come up with a series of very brief statements, maybe it's like a question and answer. Who can I get to help me with my smoke detector, to change the batteries, and then the answer, you know, what are the organizations, whether it's American Red
Oh, you know,
Cross
that's
or
a great
fire
idea.
department, or,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that
I don't know,
is.
something using the resources we have.
It's
Yeah.
almost like you need a senior hotline.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Well,
Oh,
the
That
other
would be
thing,
nice.
We have a volunteer here who calls and says, I don't know how to do this.
I
Do you know where I can get help?
well, no, that's exactly what I'm
Yeah.
talking about,
I think
and,
it's-
but, well, one of the things that I want to make sure you all know about too is, you know, La Miranda has a really substantial village, right? And they have actually been given a grant by a private citizen who sees the villages as a very, very important resource, to help other communities basically start their own villages by being the hub
Yeah.
and enabling us newbies, so to speak, to be the spokes from their hub. And their hub would provide support in different ways, one of which is that they have an existing staff. And so, and they have things like their concierge line, for instance. And eventually, if there was a village started in Pleasant Hill, the Pleasant Hill Village would pay them some fee based on the membership, you know, there's a whole bunch of financial stuff that goes into figuring out how to have a village come about.
Yeah.
But basically, they'd be like the parent organization in a way, you know, like Pleasant Hill would have its own village, but they would provide the resources that we would need until we kind of like graduated and went out on our own. So the executive director of La Miranda is Catherine Izisi. No, I'm going to say her name wrong. Anyway, starts with an I. It sounds Japanese. I'm going to have to get better at that one. Anyway, Catherine is willing to come talk to us as well if you're interested in having her talk about the hub and spoke model that La Miranda is working on.
I'm sorry. That's also what, forgotten his name, talked to us
Eric did,
about.
yeah.
Yeah, where I keep, not feeling like this is in our wheelhouse or our purview is because there is paid staff and it's.
Right.
And what they do is raise money for this.
Yeah.
So that's not
Not
what they
us.
do.
No, it's not us.
It's,
Sure.
yeah,
Maybe I can make a suggestion. So the purpose of a committee, a subcommittee, is to actually ferret out all those things and not bring it to the commission.
Thank you,
for
yeah.
thought out. And so if there's not a recommendation to the commission, I would sort of recommend to just table it until the committee has had an opportunity to ferret out a component. And so I think what Juanita was saying is that there's potential to look at the gaps that may or may not be served by a village concept. And so what might be useful if the committee can meet, figure out those gaps and then make a recommendation, yes, Pleasant Hill should need a village and we should try to connect people, or no, we don't need a village, we just need X resources. And so once the committee figures out what kind of recommendation to make to the commission, then it should be brought back to the commission at that time.
yes.
But having a forum to talk about it, I think this is very sort of very.
Yeah, it is, thank you. And, so
Is it good?
it doesn't mean that your committee has to come up with a recommendation by the next meeting.
No.
No,
It's whatever time you need.
I
It's fine.
just need a committee.
I thought
Well,
there wasn't.
right now it's just
Been
been,
limited.
it's partly just been that Dana's been ill. But but the committee is just myself and Dana and Marion right now.
Right.
And Marion's on vacation for, yeah, I do have a committee,
So I
but I
think
mean, I just haven't been able
down the
to,
road a bit,
yeah,
when you.
we haven't been able to really meet and do anything.
And that's okay. It's
Okay, I mean,
not like
many
it has to
committees
happen.
have some, little longer than normal.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, thank you.
Yeah, well, it helps to know that it
That was
doesn't need to
good.
be solved overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Big an
think we
issue.
don't put it on the agenda again until they're ready to.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's true, so then you tell us when you want.
We are gonna talk about it if it's on the agenda. Okay.
Thank you, I appreciate it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, liaison report, Lorna, anything?
Yeah, but let me think. Left my folder at home. No, because I already talked about Senior Rally Day in May. And, Advocacy Day in Sacramento is on May 7th, and this is all supporting Older Americans Act. And, I'm gonna leave it at that, thank you, sorry.
You know, just looking at your calendar makes me tired.
Oh, I know. Crazy. And she keeps adding to it.
Yeah, well, I can't do this with a calendar, I need to see everything.
I like the paper too.
Okay, so that's it for you?
Yes.
Okay. And other commissioner?
Oh, can I, on a personal note, Brian and I, he was one of the presenters of the board presenters, are doing a presentation at Rossmore on Monday afternoon. And at between 1 and 2:30, so if anyone's interested, to attend that, I would just need your name and driver's license number or email to get through the gate at Rossmore, but that's, yeah. That's on the 15th, tax day.
15.
So if you could give me that information, if you're interested, just reach out to me. It's called Proactive. It's what was our presentation. I know some of the people weren't able to come. Brian and I will be covering all of it with just the two of us, and it's at the Fireside Room at Rossmore. Right now, we have about 50 people signed up. So, yeah, if you're interested, I only just need to get you through the gate. So
Okay.
it's on the 15th in Rossmore between 1 and 2:30.
Thank you. Any other commissioners have a report?
I'm just glad to be here.
We're glad to have you here. We're so.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Announcements. Acknowledgement of service on the commission. Queen and Cammy. Cammy, would you like
It's been
to
a
share
pleasure.
anything?
It's been a pleasure. And I'm not gonna serve as a commissioner, but I do want to remain involved. So
We will keep
when you have stuff going on, let me know. And if I'm available, I will be there. So
We will be sure to do
And
that. Thank you. It's been wonderful having
perhaps
you.
one day I'll reapply.
Good.
Just that this year, looking at our calendar and commitments and family celebrations, I've got some big ones this year. I'm not available for several meetings and it kind of,
That's being really responsible. Thank you for doing that.
so anyways. Thank you, but pull me in,
Apply.
pull me in.
And reapply as soon as you can. There's always a need. Any comments?
I enjoyed my time. I learned a lot about city function, how to get things done. I do remember when I first started the commission, it was probably you were the.
Liaison from.
But everybody else who has been replaced, over the years. And, working on the different projects to really help focus the commission on things that are real important to the aging community. I think it's been one of the most satisfactory things that I've worked on. I remember in the first project, which was rewriting the commission charter.
Yeah,
That was like the first meeting I was on.
that was painful.
It was painful. I think you were on that. You wrote it. I remember. But it was really,
Sidewalk.
I think, hard to do.
Yeah,
Just to
yeah,
focus
on what is our mission.
Yeah, what are we trying to achieve? So that.
And then the logo, redoing the logo.
Redoing the logo, volunteering. I remember we were doing yards for people and
Yeah.
drive back. The truck was just full of equipment. I would drive up and just whack everything
That
back.
that was fun.
It was really fun. So it's been a whole host of different things over the last year.
And we matured over, as we've gone, we've grown as a commission over the
It
years.
has certainly
yeah.
changed, I think,
Yeah.
in the last, at least the last 8 years that I'm on the commission is really changed. I think it was more of a social commission when I first. if I'm not
Yeah, we
mistaken.
got, yeah, I mean, we lost a few commissioners, or at least one particularly high person we lost because of the social aspect was not in her world, you know,
Yeah.
that it was,
Ah.
why am I here kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, so we've really evolved.
Yeah, it's now mission driven, which I think is really what the community wants, what they expect, I think, from commissions.
And it has become, I think, more of a place for advocacy,
Yeah.
like the
Yes.
sidewalk.
Yeah.
Remember
Yes.
the sidewalk project?
It got
For
fixed.
ages.
We have a sidewalk now. That was one of, between the library and
Yeah.
Aegis. So
Yeah.
I went up there, but first,
Yeah.
the city
Oh,
planner
yeah.
said, oh, we can't do that.
Yeah.
It's not on our, we can't do that. And I
Not this
walked
year.
it and my husband walked it and we,
Oh, man.
Good picture.
And it's-
Before we
and
had a
it's-
sidewalk.
it's there now.
Yeah, we were,
Exciting.
even the library's in and there's no sidewalk.
I was the chair on that. I wrote the letter.
Oh my God.
I remember that.
That's one of the things that's happened.
Yeah.
And, so it is exciting and gratifying to see some difference being made.
Definitely, we are making a difference.
And it's a great group. Like I said,
Yeah, that's why I-
I'm afraid I would miss half the meetings.
I learned how to
Or close to it, so there's a lot of meetings.
Hope you come back.
I learned how to make ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
Good idea.
Yes.
Good
Ice
ice cream.
cream.
Yeah.
But there are others who want to go. I see and I hear there's
Yeah.
lots of qualified folks who want to participate in the city, so.
That's good
I
too.
think
That's
it's high time
good.
to move on and have others kind of infuse these fresh ideas.
Yeah. But it's, I find it especially helpful to have younger people like you on a commission like this. Because it's spreading the word. Old is okay. It's all right if we get older. It doesn't mean we're over the hill. It doesn't mean we're not useful anymore. But we can say that when we're up there already. But to have younger people here, you guys, I think especially,
Fresh ideas.
fresh ideas and technology, not necessarily are us. So, that's helpful, but just, spreading that word more universally. Cause you don't know till you get there sometimes.
Well, since Mary.
I appreciate you.
I am now the oldest one here, so you all better behave.
Well, Marianne will be back, so you.
Yeah, okay, she's gonna be 91 in June.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
90.
I will still be around.
Oh, good.
So if
Oh,
I think there's
thank
anything.
you.
that's
There's
happening
probably
next
more,
year,
just what I thought of just
Good.
now.
Thank you so much. Thank goodness.
And if you need
Thank
back
you
the
both.
week.
I know. I almost feel like we could have.
Yeah, I need,
That's right, you were the tool person.
I was.
Good.
Okay, I was gonna say, my husband has nothing, but he whacked.
I had the edgers. and
That was
the
fun,
trimmers.
that was lots of fun.
Yeah, we got lots of big piles all over the Pleasant Hill, but. that
We
was
got
our
the job done.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, are there any other announcements? There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
May 8th, 2025. Thank you all.